Hello, writers, and welcome to Writing for Screens. Oh, dear, my sound is really high. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can adjust that. There we go. All right. And hello, writers. Welcome to Writing for Screens. Today's live stream episode, Ask Me Almost Anything. My name is Glenn Gers, and I am the Chief Operating Everything here at Writing for Screens. Oh dear, my sound is. I've got a new computer setup. I've got a new setup here, and so I'm just adjusting. I need to wear my glasses for this now, which I kind of like doing. Anyway, my name is Glenn Gers. I am the Chief Operating Everything here at Writing for Screens, a channel which I have created in order to take the skills, tools, and insights that I had to work out for myself in a 25-year career writing for TV and movies on my way out of the business. I am trying to leave behind what I worked out for myself in case it is of use to you. There is no system, there is no rules, there is no right and wrong to what anyone does. You can write any way you want. I am not telling you there is a special way to do it. I am simply telling you stuff that I ran into, that I had to figure out, or stuff that I read about other people doing. And that is what I am doing here. In order to do that, I created 50 short videos. Each one's about 10 minutes. They are here. This is a little screen grab of my channel first page. And if you look at the first three playlists as you scroll down, you'll see Screenwriting Essentials, Screenwriting Tools, Skills, and Craft, and The Process, Being a Writer. These three playlists, which have these big, bold, colorful thumbnails that tell you exactly what each one is about. Instinct, genre, flashbacks, character, dialogue, all sorts of stuff. I took everything I could think of. I tried to make it really, really simple and practical. There's no right way or wrong way to do this. Every artist must work out their own path. So all I've done is offer you stuff that might help. Try it, see if it works for you. If it works for you, great, use it. If it doesn't, now you know what doesn't work for you. You can work on what does. That is what you've got to do in order to be an artist. That is the lesson I am teaching. So having done those 50 videos, I then decided to start doing live streams, which I currently do every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time Zone. And so that is what I'm doing now. Every time it's mostly I'm going to be doing Ask Me Anythings from now on. But I'm going to take a second here. Apologies, but I'm going to try to fix the mic, see if I can get it to be a little, it seems like it's a little distorted. Tell me if it is. Is this better? That's better. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, everything's different today. I have, it's the same camera, but my computer is different. My screen is different. My lights are different. So as a result, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Let me see what's going on. Okay. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Fung. Hey, Hasko. I'm hot. Yeah, I know. First time I've broadcast with the new mic. Hello. Is it better, by the way? Let me know. Hi, Jens. Hi, Matthew. Why do you need to say almost? This is interesting. See, everything's different. There we go. Why do you need to say almost when I say ask me anything? That's because there are certain things I won't necessarily talk about. And so to give myself a legal out on that, there's something like somebody, I don't know, asks for nasty gossip about someone I worked with, or I don't know, well, they want my social security number or banking information. I'm not going to answer that. So therefore, there you go. That's why I say almost. I also thought it was sort of fun to make it a little different, to make you think, what's with this guy? Why is he different? Hello, Michael. Okay. Yep. It's good now. Okay, so I fixed the gain, as they say. Okay, about last week's chat. Apparently, David Zucker got fired from the Naked Gun reboot because he insisted to cast Miles Teller as the lead, but the studio only wants Liam Neeson for some reason. Well, the reason, okay, I got to side with the studio on this. The reason is the original concept of the character is a sort of old, serious actor who is playing silly. And that is part of the comedy of it, is somebody who has a legendary career as a serious actor doing serious roles, and then they do something absurd. That's part of the humor. So there you go. All right. Hi, Nishaj. Hi, Pelicans. Okay, Mike sounds better, much better. Yay. Interstellar reissue is coming. Oh, I did not know that, but I am interested because I love Interstellar. I think it's a terrific movie. So cool. That's nice. Yeah. I'm also obviously very, continuing from last week, I'm very interested, have tickets for the opening day of One Battle After Another. Do you know, Germany Football Rocks, is the Interstellar reissue simply they're putting it back on the big screen, or are they doing anything to it? They might be like tweaking it or adding to it or subtracting from it. I don't know. Anyway, hello, Doreen. Good to see you. So yeah, that's what's going on. The big news here is, yes, I had to replace my computer and my monitor and my whole setup here, which was exciting. A brand new day here at my home. A brand new week, really. It took a long time to get this set up, but it's good. It's good. I got a wide screen, so I'm looking all over the place. 4DX, cool. That sounds good. I may actually go to that in the theater. We will see. So let me talk about what else. Please feel free to ask questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk a bit about what's going on with me, which is I am in the final stages of proofreading the Writing for Screens book. Well, let me see. Maybe I should try putting the cover up here. Do I got the cover? Yeah, let me see. Okay, so what we got here, there we go. Let me see if I can bring that down a bit. But I should start, I should start putting this up here. I should start hyping this. That's what I should do. I should start. I am currently working on the proofreading of Writing for Screens. I don't know what I'm doing with this. All right, Writing for Screens. Let's bring it down a little. That's the cover of the book. The book is almost ready. It's almost ready, and I am not. I am not ready. I still have to get my I have to get the ISBNs. I have to learn what it's like to put things on Amazon and Ingram, the book distributor. So I am learning a lot about all of that, about self-publishing. The camera looks a tiny bit orange. Yes, it does. I know. Did I always wear glasses? No. They're reading glasses. They're for close-up, and the truth is, I have. Let's see. I have. Oh, interesting. No, my glasses are because I have a new computer screen that I am working on, and the type is smaller. I had it set for old folks, they made the type bigger on everything. But with my new wide monitor, the computer actually can't do that on this monitor. It's not set to do it on super wide screens. All right, so therefore, yes, from now on I will be wearing glasses. The camera looks a tiny bit orange. Yes, I agree. It does. Actually, that may be the lights, to tell you the truth. I do have them set. That's a little better. All right. Heard Robert Redford passed. Yes, indeed. He did so much. Yes, I got to say. Yeah, when Redford passed, my first, I was happy that he went gently into the night. He died in his sleep peacefully and happily, and had spent a lot of time trying to preserve his privacy. But when they did the first obituary, I checked it out, and it blew my mind to think about how many really good and important films Robert Redford was involved in. It is so shocking to me when you suddenly look. That's a lot of my favorite movies of all time: 3 Days of the Condor, The Way We Were. Jeremiah Johnson is a phenomenal, underrated Western. He's just been in a lot of, obviously, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is one of my great favorite films of all time. The Sting is lovely. There's just a lot. Anyway, the point is Redford's acting career, and I'm a big fan of Barefoot in the Park. And Sneakers was delightful. There's just a lot of the list of movies. I was like, holy crap, I forgot how many terrific movies Redford was in. But then to top all that he actually more or less invented American independent cinema. He by founding the Sundance Institute and taken over the USA Film Festival, which at the time was not very big or successful, and he created this place where independent film was recognized and people swarmed to it, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's just amazing when you think about how much he contributed to the history of American film. Truly marvelous. Okay. Nice specs. Thank you. Thank you. They are from Warby Parker if you want to buy them. It's not a paid promotion. Finally done with the first draft of my novel. Wow, great. Oh, you settled your last sequence. That's good. Still got the epilogue and the cycle for the second final draft. Yeah. If you can do 2 drafts and be done, good on you. That's great. Congratulations, Lake Filter. Thank you, Leah. So I am excited for people to start reading it. I'm going to talk a little briefly about this because I had talked about the mechanics of getting it printed, published, created, and that's what I'm doing right now. But I was just talking to a friend about the fact that I do have a list of things you're supposed to do, or things I've decided to do in order to try and let people know it exists, because I have 24,000 subscribers. I suspect that almost all of them have forgotten that they have a subscription. And therefore, no one's going to know that this is out except for the 100 or so of you who watch these live streams. So therefore, I'm going to need to promote it. So I'm going to be doing videos about it. I'm going to try and do some interviews or podcasts or whatever I can do where if people will let me go and talk about it. And some advertising and stuff like that. But that's all. The thing you're supposed to do is time all that. I've talked about this. To time all of your publicity at the same moment so that it creates a buzz. And I decided not to do that because it was way too stressful. And I don't believe that it's not that it's not that important. I suspect that it might work, but everyone is doing the same thing and it's not working for most of them. So I don't necessarily believe it will work. And what I had to do was balance, and I'm talking about this because I'm trying to give it as advice. I try to talk about the things I've discovered in creative work that I found help me on the off chance that you will find it supportive or useful. While there may be things that optimize you for the biggest social media bang or the biggest impact, those aren't always worth the price. Partly the price in your life, but also worth the price in terms of distorting your content to say that the thing that you are doing becomes just publicized like everything else. But the thing you are doing, hopefully, is not like everything else. And in fact, one of the things I'm wrestling with most is if I do go on, like I'm going to try and go back on Film Courage, I think. But a lot of what I'm going to be saying is honestly, the ideal relationship of an artist to a how-to book is that you sort of check into it now and then you put it aside and you go write something. That's the whole point. That's my message. You should not spend all your time trying to learn how to do it. You should spend all your time doing it, practicing it, trying it. That's how you're going to figure out who you are and what works for you. It's definitely good to learn little bits and pieces, but the key is that you don't learn and then get ready and then go. You learn as you go. You learn as you work. And it's not like two discrete stages of learning and then doing. Learning and doing are both happening at the same time. So as such, that's what I'm going to be doing because I am learning how to release a book. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. Light and forms. On collaboration, particularly on set, how do you identify if someone is coming from a place of ego versus if they actually want the best for the film, even if they're being stubborn about it? That's a good question. Interesting. All right, this is something to think about. I wish it were that simple as to say this one is, this one isn't. It is always going to be a combination of, because the thing is, what's best for the film is generally different people see it differently. So therefore, if you are bringing what you think is best and it is different from what someone else thinks is best, it will seem like it's worst. It will seem terrible. But you're actually operating out of a truly good intention. So you have to separate that out because they may believe that it is best. I think the first thing you have to do is decide who's in charge. It is really important with creative work that somebody be in charge, even if they're not the best, even if they're not great. Somebody's in charge. That is traditionally on film sets, the director. But it doesn't have to be. Sometimes, there's other situations where it's a producer or even the star or who knows what. But someone has to make those choices, because the thing about artistic work is that it's a choice. There is no right or wrong. It's not, this is what's best for the film if you are trying to make it the most like a Marvel movie, and this is if you're trying to make it an indie film. And people may be trying to make those two different things, and they're going to have different bests. That said, you can, honestly, I think there's a vibe. I think there's a feeling you get when someone is operating out of their ego. When they are operating out of a selfish, self-centered, or self-serving motivation. And I think you can tell. I think one of the key things is you learn these things by repeated interactions. You don't get it on one. Nobody at any time should be held to like, oh, you said that one thing, it's all over. I don't think that that's healthy. I would say that the thing that you want to do is, no matter what, try to organize for communication. Have some way to, for instance, there's a lot of things which might be said privately that should not be said in front of everyone. And knowing the difference is very important. And that goes both ways. It goes for the powerful and the less powerful. Like, there's very often powerful people who will honestly like say things in front of everyone that's just destroys an actor or a writer or a crew person. And that thing may be even true or right, but you shouldn't say it in front of everyone. So those are some of the things that I would say about collaboration. But the main thing, I think, is to recognize your place in the hierarchy, because in a creative work, unless you're going to say like, okay, we're going to, but even if the point is everyone has to agree, first of all, everyone's not going to agree. So you have to say, okay, we're going to do a 2/3 vote of these people, and that's going to be what decides it. But somehow or other, you have to have some way to make choices. I think that's my main point. There isn't a right or wrong. There isn't a best or worst. There is a consistency of vision, which is a consistency of responsibility for choices. And that's what you hope you have. Then, ideally, there's communication. There's, first of all, listening, because what if your choice is uninformed? What if you haven't thought about how hard it will be for an actor to do a certain thing, or to change a certain line, and the writer's like, but no, that's setting up something for another scene. And the director is like, oh, cut that line. So I think that my main answer to that would be, we need to always know who's in charge or who's making the choices, and then you need to communicate them. Hope that was a good answer. I felt it was. I don't know why, but I used to think nonlinear structure is confusing. Now, all of a sudden, after watching Weapons, I want to structure all my writings nonlinear. Is there a science to it? First of all, cool, good on you. That's nice that you're opening up. And yeah, Weapons is dynamite. There isn't a science. There are principles to be applied, but they can be different. For instance, Weapons is tracking a single story through different perspectives, but other work that's nonlinear often will track multiple stories. Others will track multiple chronologies. So I think what you want to do with a nonlinear story is watch a lot of them, study how they do it, so that you get the mechanisms into your head of how things can be done. For instance, The Godfather Part 2 is nonlinear in the sense that there are two linear tracks that you simply jump from one to the other now and then, very infrequently. Whereas other pieces, there will be a nonlinear thing where you're getting bits and pieces and you're trying to put them together. So the answer is there isn't a single nonlinear structure or principle. What there is a lot of different ways to play with this, and the best thing that you can do is glom it in, study it, absorb it, watch it, see the ones you like, see which, honestly, the way that these things work best is if they resonate inside you. If you just feel the vibe of how to do it. When you watch it, you go, "Ooh, I like that. I know how to do that." Or I get it. I want to learn how to do it. As opposed to, "Oh, this is the proper way to do things. I will study it." That's not as good as, "This is real to me. This is exciting to me. I feel it." That's a really important part of choosing your structure. And then having done that, the answer is, take art apart. Let me just remind you that I did a video called, Take Art Apart. Boom. Take Art Apart, which I will put a link to in the description a little while after we're done here. But my lesson about that is methodically. Don't just watch something over and over, but you should watch things over and over. It is amazing. The other day, I watched a movie. It was called Night Moves. It's a 1970s thriller. It's running on the Criterion Channel for those of you who have it. And I watched it, and afterwards I said to my wife, "That's the third time I've seen that, and the first time I've liked it." And she cracked up. She's like, "Why did you watch it 3 times if you didn't like it?" But the answer is there was something interesting about it, and people keep talking about how great it is. And I didn't watch it 3 times in a row in a week or something. It's like over decades. But the answer is you watch things over and over and you see them differently. But not only that, having decided to watch things multiple times, then do it in a methodical way, like literally stop and, I believe, if you have a structure that you like, make an outline of that movie. Like, say, this is this list of the scenes in the order that they happen in Weapons. How many, what are the proportions? What is the vibe? What is the feeling? There's something about that helps you absorb the mechanism. Because it should be somewhat authentic to you when you choose an artistic approach. So the answer is, is there a science to nonlinear? The answer is, there is a landscape of nonlinear. There is a world of nonlinear storytelling, and your job is to get into it, to watch a lot of it. Some of it you will like, some of it you won't. Figure out what the difference is. Look at them and say, why do I not like this nonlinear thing and I do like this one? And then start to think, what is it? How do they operate? What can you do? Please watch that video about Take Art Apart. Really think about it, study, read about it, whatever. That's my advice. Okay. Do you think there will be a glut of screenplay submissions because of AI? And if so, how do you think the studios and agencies will respond to it? We're already got a glut of screenplay submissions. The truth is, there are more screenplays being written now than ever in history. Screenwriting has become appealing and publicly exciting, and people want to learn how to do it. And that didn't used to be true. So therefore, there are more scripts now than the industry can read. But will there be more because of AI? I don't think that's going to be the difference. I think that the difference is going to be how the studios and agencies respond by operating AI themselves. In other words, they're going to have AI script readers, and that is bad. That is hell. That is just the worst thing we can imagine. I got to tell you, I am just sad because I suspect it is already happening. But if it isn't already happening, I guarantee you by next Thursday, it's going to be happening. This is coming down so fast. AI script reading is going to be the first line that any script hits. The first line of defense between you and the people who make movies is going to be an AI. And the answer is that bad? The answer is absolutely, that is bad. Although, truthfully, the current system, which is you have a lot of people reading, some of them are idiots. Some of them are small-minded. Some of them are self-centered. There's so many things that can make something not work. So therefore, I would say you're always taking your chances. But the idea that AI will be weeding it out based on things which we don't even know, at least you have the possibility when you're getting human readers of simply connecting. Because that's what a work of art, or especially writing, is trying to do. You're trying to connect. And, no matter what happens with an AI, you're not connecting. You're not reaching another human soul and artistically sparking their excitement, which is what should happen. Okay. Okay, so we got a camera. Yes, the camera is probably closer. Move the camera back twice as far and zoom in. Currently, it makes your hands look twice the size they should be. That's funny. I don't know. I kind of like that. But I get your point, and I will adjust it over time. Thank you for the suggestion. I feel sad because when actors and directors die, the streaming cinema suddenly put those old classics back on again. Just like when David Lynch died, suddenly all those. So that makes you sad? That seems like a good thing. What do I know? But to me, I was actually looking forward to Robert Redford, who was in a Sidney Pollack film called Havana, which is very hard to find. And I saw it and I rather liked it, and I'd like to see it again. It's not great, but it's got some solid stuff in it. And I haven't been able to see it, and I'm hoping that it will be back. So, likewise, Jeremiah Johnson. Don't leave out Ordinary People. He goes, yeah, of course, absolutely. Ordinary People and Quiz Show are my two favorites that he directed. So yeah. Michael asks, do you work on character biographies? Do you make changes after writing your first draft? Two separate questions, but I will answer them both. The first one, do I work on character biography? I think about it. But I don't write out a full biography. I just try and figure out who this person is. The danger of character biography is the things that are in the biography need to in some way show up in the movie. In the script. They need to, in other words, if you know that this person played chess as a child, and then there's absolutely no sign of that in the script, in a way you don't know it because nobody who's reading the script is going to know it. And you want to make sure that you don't spend so much time being creative in their biography that you actually fail to make their character interesting. Or that you feel things about them that the audience can't feel because they don't know that. So that's my worry about character biography. That said, whatever it takes for you to know the person so that you can write instinctively about them is good. And part of that is a biography. Then the question of, do I make changes after writing the first draft? Oh, I see what you're saying. Do I make changes to the biography after writing the first draft? First of all, I rarely write down a biography. I might write a little bit about the character. And it depends on how detailed and how important the character is. But I would say, I don't generally try and keep the character biography updated to the character. Ideally, at a certain point, the script is where the character lives. And if it's not in the script, you don't want to worry about it. You don't want to think about it. Unless there's something like, oh, I desperately have to get in that chess thing. But I would say at a certain point, you don't want to think about any notes or outlines or anything. You want to just be looking at the script and saying, what makes this better? What is this? That is the goal. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, Next Institute. Sealy Jack says, I suddenly have an urge to write a screenplay novel about a Nazi hiding in Spain after the war. Should I use the real names of that soldier or invent a name? It's based on a true story. That's interesting. I want to explore how a man's inner conflict must be when he is living a normal life in a false name, but he himself knows how much people he caught. Yes, Sealy Jack, I would say ideally, I personally would say make up a character and do not use the details of the real. Use the idea of the real, but not the name or the specific, unless you have the life rights to this person or they're a famous historical character that's got lots of stuff written about them. My answer would be, if possible, don't write the real story. Write the inspired story that you can create that will make us feel the things you want to feel about this idea. Because the idea of a person living with a hidden past is a powerful one that's been done many times. So I don't think that there's a need to justify it with the real story, unless you're actually trying to do a biography. If you're trying to do a biopic, do that. But there's legal questions that get involved, and I do not know the legal answers. I do not know what right you have to use a person's real name, so I would advise not doing it. That's my take on it. I think it's a great idea for a story, but what's most interesting is what you're going to do with that story, because as I've said, there's many versions of that story, of the idea of a war criminal or a person who has escaped something horrible and set up a new life. That's a great story, but what's really important is, what are you saying with that story? What does that mean to you? What are you trying to make us see about that? Haskell's rule, though, is anybody who's been dead for at least 100 years is fair game. That's true, but that's not true of the Second World War, so therefore I would say don't. Do you have any lead penetrating the international market for selling books, say US and EU? No. I wish I did. I did. No. I mean, the good thing is, at least in the US, a lot of books are sold through Amazon. So therefore, you can just work through Amazon. Amazon is actually a fairly user-friendly site for their KPD, their Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP. Kindle Direct Publishing is how you self-publish through Amazon. And they're actually, their information on that site, the how-to stuff, so far has seemed very useful to me. As to how do you break into the market, I believe that it's if anyone knew that, they would do it, and they don't. Even the big publishers don't know how to get something to click with an audience now. Hi, Mark Edwin. Nice to meet you. Any advice on how to make an audience care? I've had feedback that the story doesn't engage them. Interesting. Yes, I do have advice on that. I believe, and I've said this, I believe I say, look, I mean, essentially, I believe that you make them care through characters, and I did a video on character, which I would suggest you look at. But unfortunately, the feedback that the story doesn't engage them is kind of not helpful. And this is something that happens a lot. You'll get feedback that's like, I don't know what to do with that. Like, why didn't it engage you? Because it can be that the thing that didn't engage you is the way it's presented, like literally, like the tone of voice or the way the sentences are written could be. It could be that you're giving away too much information and that you actually want to withhold some. I did a whole, but I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that, or it could be that the character, we don't know what they want. To me, I have found that generally audiences get engaged when it becomes clear who they're following and what they want. That is also the topic of this video. It's called The 6 Essential Questions. These videos that I'm putting up the little thumbnails for, when this video is done recording and I can do this, I will put links to them in the description of this video so that you can just click on them and go to them. But 6 Essential Questions, I believe, is a good way to get people to get engaged with a story. Because different things get like it could be that the story is too judgmental, or it could be that the story is not clear about the problem they're facing. There's no way to know if they just say they didn't engage, because that's, that could honestly be, I don't know how many people you've had the feedback from. That's the other thing. It's really important to talk about, if you only get feedback from one person, that could just be their feeling. Like they could just not like that, like, oh, I don't like stories about bank robbers or something, and you're doing a bank robbery story. So yeah, it's not going to engage them. So therefore all I can say is I believe most of what I teach is about how to engage. So therefore I would just ask you to look at my stuff. If you have more, Mark, if you have more specific feedback, let me know and I'll try and answer that. Otherwise, look at it and try. I mean, obviously you thought it was good, so you think it's engaging. Try and find out why it didn't. Like what specifically? Like, did they find it confusing? Did they find it? Sometimes things are just, they're too slow. Which is the opposite of, like, confusing is too much is happening. Too slow is just, it's too obvious, and so they're not engaged. There's no way to know. But for me, the way that you make an audience care, first and foremost is you have to care. Do you have strong feelings about these people and these characters, and what they're doing and the story itself? And then once again, I really would start with this. Okay. What do I think about 28 years later franchise getting a 4th and 5th movie? I assume you mean, because you're counting the first 2, 28 days later, then 28 weeks later? Yeah. Or the first 2, that was like years and years, decades ago. And now the 28 years later has come out, and they're making that a trilogy, the 28 years trilogy. And I know that the 4th is coming out. It's coming out in January. They're brilliantly moving fast on this. And what they've been saying is the existence of the 5th will depend on the 4th. Just the 4th gets a good reaction, then it will. I hope it does, because, for instance, the third 28, the recent movie 28 years later ends with a cliffhanger. It ends with a character showing up, changing the entire dynamic of the story, and that's the end of the first of the trilogy. The second one is going to engage with that character, and I'm curious. I'm curious about where that's going to go. So the answer is I'm all in. I love it. I thought that the third one was great. In many ways, I think the 28 years later is the best of the franchise. It had the most humanity and heart, to me. So what I think is I'm in. I will go to those movies. What is the best way to proceed? FilmRank asks. Hi, FilmRank. If you are not writing a story alone, but together with someone else. That is a great question. I would say the first thing to do is try and find out how each, or however many there are of you, work, and make an explicit agreement on how to work. In other words, like some people, they like to literally sit and talk together in a room, and they bang out line by line the story. Other teams will say, like, they'll talk about an idea and then they'll say, okay, you go write this scene and then send me the draft and I'll make notes and I'll rewrite it and I'll pass it back to you. So you got to find out how you both want to work. You have to agree on that. When there's a group of people, for instance, on television shows, there has to be a hierarchy. There has to be an authority who says, we are using this line and not that line. We are doing this and that. That's very important. But if it's just two of you, the answer is you got to figure out what works for you. You may have to do that by trying things and then seeing what works and what doesn't, and adapting the plan as you go. But there is no classic right way to do it. It depends. It depends on your nature. It depends on your style, and how you mesh with the other person. Okay, I'm going to ask no more questions because we are getting towards the end of the hour, and I'm only halfway through the comments. Art of Adam Lum says, just finished a screenplay and I'm now outlining a novel for a change of pace. Good. Any advice on shifting to writing more character interiority? I am so used to not doing it in screenplays, I'm having to consciously put it in with an extra pass. Any suggestions from your own experience? That is exactly my experience. I'm working on a novel. I'll be going back to it real soon, the next few weeks, I think. And then I'll be talking about it more. But the short answer is, if you need to do passes, like interior passes, do that. That's okay. For me, what's been happening is working through it, writing it as best I could, then reading it and go, oh, and then doing another draft. That helps. The main thing is to sort of understand the voice, the narrative voice that you are using in the novel, because there are many different possible voices that you can use, and you have to decide which voice you like. For me, because the novel I'm writing is first person, so the interiority is kind of baked in, but I had to decide what kind of first person voice I was going to use. And I had a sort of style that I started with that I kind of liked, but I recognized that it wasn't quite working. So what I personally did was I read about 15 first-person books of all different styles, and said, like, which ones are vibing with me and this character? Which ones, because I like a lot of different things and can see possibilities, but this particular character and story wanted a certain voice, because the book I'm writing is supposed to be this person's memoir. So I'm writing in a memoir voice, but this person was self-educated. So it's a memoir by a self-educated person, and this person is writing in the 1970s, I believe, maybe late 70s, I think. And so they lived from the 1920s through then, and what they read was going to influence that a lot. So I was reading stuff from the 1930s and 40s and 50s and 60s, because that's what the writer, the imaginary character writer, would have been reading to try and get the voice that he would like. So that's what I had to do for that, which is read a lot of possible styles and try and adapt, to try and use what you learn from that. That's my personal experience. And the other thing is just to start, like, for me, one of the things that happened was I realized that I had outlined it, structured it for people to talk in dialogue about the dramatic interior. They were playing it out as a good script would, with people in conversation. But since this is a memoir and the guy doesn't remember every conversation, it actually had to be summary. It had to be him remembering what happened, which took away all the dialogue. which just blew my mind. It took me like a year to figure that out. And so that's the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, you have to decide what technical means you will use to do what you want. What do you think about Michael Caine? I recently watched his acting lecture, which is somewhat useful to screenwriting. I love Michael Caine as an actor and seemed like an interesting person. I certainly know that his acting lectures are really good. So I would say, what do I think? Yeah, you'd be surprised. Sometimes a musician or a painter or an actor will talk about their process and you will find it is very useful in your writing. Great. Do it. That's fabulous. Hello, Michael. Glad that you're here. No problem that you're late. Were you ever forced to work with an actor that doesn't have the range for a character you've created? Yeah, sure. Sure. And not even forced, just that's life, you imagine things. One of the things you have to learn to do is stop imagining the exact way that actors will do something, because they never will. And so what you really want to do is imagine the most powerful, dramatic expression for the character and then see how the actor does it. But the answer to that is, the more that first of all, it depends on if you're working with an actor, it means you're in production. That's sort of the director's problem, although you may be working with the director to tailor the lines to the actor. But one of the things you want to do is figure out, what do they do well? What works for them? And then try as best you can to give them what works for them. There's no point in trying to make someone do what they're not good at. Let them do what they're good at. Let them funnel your story through what they can do. So that's it. I did a whole live stream, I'll try and find it, about writing for non-actors. Or student actors. Like most independent film people, you don't have great actors to work with when you start out. And so I talked about how do you write knowing that you're not going to have great actors, because great actors will bring greatness, but even a bad actor, if the scene is strong and clear and it's something they can do, you can get a good performance from a bad actor. Absolutely. The thing is, you don't want to over expect a specific thing. Like when I made Disfigured, there was a scene where a character had to break down and cry. And it was just hard for her on the day, at the moment. It was just too much. And the thing is, there were a lot of other ways that she could have expressed that feeling, but I had a specific type of crying that I was in my mind, and I didn't realize that I should have let her try things and explore and see how those emotions came out if the actor wasn't trying to reach a specifically described way of crying. I discovered it too late. We solved it, but it taught me something, which is don't try to write a performance. Always write an action and then see what kind of version of that will the performer do. Once again, no more questions. Watson Neal says, what do you think about Francis Ford Coppola using his Instagram official account to argue with the people who hate Megalopolis? I understand he wastes his time like that. I don't know that that's a waste of time. He spent a long time making that movie. He wants to engage with the audience directly. He's a character. He's quirky and independent-minded. I don't think that that's a waste of time. It's not like he's going to, he's had quite a career. He can afford to take his time now and just deal with the response to his independently funded movie. I can't wait for the documentary that's coming out about it. All I can say is, I think it's okay. I think it's fun. I think it's cool. Why not? Why not? Night Moves sparked a curiosity, making me see it multiple times. Yeah, Night Moves is an interesting movie. I really liked it this time. I think that with many movies, your expectations of what the movie should be or what you think it's going to be means the first time you see it, sometimes you don't see it at all because you're too busy expecting something. That's what happens to me a lot. Another day, I watched a Hong Kong rom-com, Yesterday Once More. I admire the screenwriter or director or whoever decided to make a tragic ending. Spoiler. All rules, expectations broken, yet it works. Crazy. Cool. I will take a look at that. Yesterday Once More. That's great. And yeah, that can happen. That can work. What really, if anything, can keep a script from laying on a shelf forever, and what is a good source to get feedback on a script from, since Coverfly is no longer in operation? Well, I'm going to just go out on a limb here and say I'm not sure Coverfly was the solution at the time. I believe that you do not want to pay people for feedback. Show it to anybody. Find a local film school, film class at a local college, and ask who will read your script. Go to a theater company and ask who will read your script. The key thing is copyright your work so that you're not giving it away to people who can just steal it. But having done that, show it to as many people, ideally people who understand the art, but also not necessarily. The hard thing is that scripts are hard for civilians to read. But anyone who has read scripts, who is interested in scripts, show it to them. Show it to them and ask them to read it and get a lot of feedback. There is no right feedback. I mean, I know people who have had the greatest editors or directors or writers read their work and just screw it. They didn't get it. They got it wrong. Their feedback was bad. Happens all the time. So therefore, I would say you don't want to assume that there is somebody who has the right answer. The answer is I'm sorry. I just banged the mic. Getting notes. Here we go. I did a whole video on this, which I suggest you read. Or watch, sorry, or read the chapter when the book comes out. Getting notes. I will put the link in the description as soon as I finish recording this. But the answer is, the first part of your question, Michael, I cannot truthfully answer. What is, let me put it this way. Almost every original script I wrote about at least a dozen original scripts. In my professional career, not even counting the ones I wrote before I started being a professional. Of those, 2 got made, I think. So we're talking about 10 that lay on the shelf forever. There's nothing you can do about that. I was as good as I could get. I was represented. I had a manager. I had an agent. Things don't always get made. They usually don't get made. So don't judge that as the answer. The question is, how do you get feedback? Separate question from how do you keep it from how do you make it happen? You don't. The way you only make it happen is you just keep showing it to people. And one of the things that's hard is people in the business, if something's been shown, they don't want to show it again. But the truth is, a year or 2 later, things may have changed. Sometimes you do a little rewrite and change the title. I've done that with several scripts. Anyway. But the main thing is show it to a lot of people, a lot. And do watch the Getting Notes, because one of the things I talk about is how you have to translate feedback. Feedback is almost never the right answer. Feedback is always this person's opinion, and you have to sort of translate that to how it's going to work for you. AI script reading will work if it picks movies that people want to watch. If it picks the formula, then it will fail. Well, but people want to watch the formula. That's the problem, Haskell. The problem is that when you judge it by how much does this stir response, then you get every single algorithm on social media right now. The truth is, as every great artist has said, people don't know what they want to watch until you show it to them. That you can show them the formula, but that will never be the exciting new thing that they didn't realize they were going to like until it happened. No one would have said that Oppenheimer or Barbie or any other great film was the thing that should be a hit. Never, never, never. Werner Herzog is making a movie based on a script using AI written script for your information. You know, there is a legitimate experiment to be made. I'm not going to pick on Werner. All I can say is Werner's not a writer. You know, Werner Herzog is a director, and he's going to try all sorts of different things, and that's cool. AI script reading, that means they are training AI on our writing. Yes, absolutely true. There is new research that AI reading CVs are 88% biased towards CVs written by AI. Yes, of course, yeah. Okay, that's the other thing. Yeah, AI is going to like what AI does because they are both converging on the same database set. But art is not made by database sets. Art is made by creative choices. Making art is making choices. And so therefore, yes, you will eventually get the perfect script if you keep AIing it. It will be boring. It will be there's no one answer. There's no one right script. There's no number one anything. There's lots of different things. So, okay. No more questions, please. Sanele, am I pronouncing that one right? How do you deal with burnout when facing multiple rewrites based on script editor notes? Oh man, that is brutal. Here's my question. Do you have to do it? Like, is it a professional situation where they are just demanding rewrite after rewrite? In which case, the answer is try to find your good version of the thing. And then, because I've had this, I've done, 10 drafts in 10 weeks sometimes. I just done draft after draft, and they don't know what they're doing. They're not talented. It's frightening how bad notes can be. And the answer is then, how do you do it? To a certain extent, you just become a mechanic. You just become all right, what can I do that's creatively somewhat satisfying to me to do this thing they want, even though I think it's a bad idea? You narrow it. You say, okay, it's just a scene. It's just 2 pages. I can write the 2 pages. I can get this thing to do the thing they want. I just have to disconnect my own heart. That's what you do if you're a professional. If you are getting multiple rewrites based on script editor notes for something, and once again, let me just urge you to read this. So watch this video, Getting Notes, that is on my channel. One of the main things that you want to do is say, like, if this script editor is giving you notes as in, if you do this, we'll think it's good, but they're not paying for that, they don't own it, just don't do it. Stop. Don't do it. You don't have to do notes if somebody isn't paying for it. The only reason you have to do notes is when people have bought a project or are paying you to do the work. And then you have to do what they say, and then you just try and be the best, most skilled mechanic, the most skilled artisan you can be. But do remember, you don't have to take people's notes unless they are paying you. On character bio, Lake Filter says, I have a simple one. I write a short paragraph about the character on a note. Then as the story progresses, I copy passages important to their growth onto the note. Everyone has a system. I like that. I wouldn't do that. It's too much work for me. It's too organized. I just try and know the character. Lee Adams Productions. Hi, Lee Adams. Yay. Yeah, thank you. I will keep you posted. The book is coming. Yesterday, Once More should be banned from cinema. Wallflowers. How can you have a comedic mood for the whole film and then reveal the plot twist protagonist is dying? The answer is that has happened in several movies. Watch out for Terms of Endearment, pal. It happens. It happens. That is a choice, and it's a cool choice because what it does is it says life is complicated, and yeah, what are you going to do? I want to say something like you can't escape the past no matter how hard you try. Oh, about the person, the escaped Nazi. Have him surrender to the authority himself instead of being caught like in real life. That's really great. Do it. But then don't do the real story because you're betraying the truth. You are changing the real story. So therefore, make up a new Nazi. Not a real Nazi. Make up a new imaginary escaped Nazi in the past. And write the story. It sounds terrific. Do it, Celia Jack. Hello, Gary Ghouls. Do you recommend people going to UCL Extension to learn about screenplays? To a certain extent, yeah. UCLA Extension is a good school. The people involved are I taught there. The people involved are well-intended and doing the best they can. It is always going to be, you never know what teacher you get. And there is, some of them are better than others. So I would say, check it out. See if you can audit a class and see if you vibe with the teacher, because everybody is bringing their own method and their own beliefs, and some of them are great. I was, and others are not so great. So the answer is, I recommend checking it out. Absolutely. My instructor never used the words writer's block. She called it self-censorship. Is there a difference? Well, no, not entirely. Is there, there may be more than one cause of writer's block. I think that the answer is self-censorship is certainly one version of writer's block, but other forms of writer's block can be trying to make too big a leap. Like, it could be that you're simply trying to do something harder than you can because you're just starting out. And so that isn't self-censorship. That is a bridge too far. You're trying too hard to do something too hard. So I wouldn't say all writer's block is self-censorship. I would say that a lot of it is. And once again, I called it fear of writing, and I did a video on it. So I will say, take a look at that. But yeah, certainly. And the other thing about that, the feeling of getting stuck, of writer's block, you might watch this video. I did a lot of good videos. All right. No more questions on book publishing. Nice to know that nobody actually has a good idea on the market. Means there's a possibility of being a market leader. I would suggest that you embrace less. that it doesn't matter if you are the market leader. I see the laughing emoji at the bottom. I get it. But the truth is, the main goal is to not lose a lot of money. Try and work within your means. Don't spend a lot if you are not likely to make it back. Because then you could do more. Because honestly, the thing that makes people click is very often having done 5 books already, having done 5 movie scripts already. That's what tends to make it good. Okay, talk about engaging. Vengeance is Mine, the Japanese slow burn drama, used a protagonist that is a serial killer. I don't agree with any actions, but I felt it very engaging. Oh, absolutely. Tragedies and thrillers and a lot of comedies are based in the idea that we are watching a person do something that either we think is bad but kind of are getting a kick out of, or think is bad and are want to see, the comeuppance. There's a lot of ways. You do not only get engaged with a character who is admirable. In fact, you often don't get engaged with a character who is admirable. That's actually one of the great things about the new Superman movie. James Gunn's new Superman movie has to deal with a character who is immensely admirable, and they deal with that. They play with that. They ask questions about it, and they show what is truly admirable about the character of Superman. Because obviously he's a superhero. He's fighting for good things, but that's not what makes him most engaging, and that's why the movie is frankly terrific. Mark Edwin, Next Institute, suggests, I was always told the more personal a story is, the more universal it becomes. I would say that with a tweak, which is you don't have to be autobiographical to be personal. For instance, I can write about, I wrote a script about the biblical character Moses, okay? I had to think about what it was like to be Moses. I had to personally engage with his problems and situations. I made it out of my feelings, but it was not personal in any other sense. So the answer is yes, the more personal, the more specific it is, the more engaging it will be, the more universal it will be, the more it will appeal to. Weirdly, trying to figure out what someone wants and do that does not work. Doing what you think is best is usually the way. Maths Magic, suggest me a book, like a book to read. Oh gosh, I'm going to suggest a handful. Graham Greene's The End of the Affair. Fabulous, The End of the Affair. But I don't know what kind of book you want to read. I'm talking about I was talking about books that I had read for my first person story. But there's so many. There's so many great books. I mean, so many great books. Suggest me a book. Damn. There's a really terrific thriller called Demolition Angel by a guy named Robert Craze. That's a terrific book. John Updike's Rabbit Run is a terrific book. Oh gosh, there's just so many books. The Great Gatsby, if you haven't read The Great Gatsby, it's truly great. I'm a big fan of Charles Dickens, but you want to have to get into it and put up with the language and the distance of time. But Bleak House and Great Expectations are amazing. I don't know. There's so many books. That's a fascinating question. Thanks, Mass Magic. I don't think there can be any justifications to have a sad twist for a rom-com. Well, that is your opinion, and you are allowed to have it. Do you think it's possible to blend some Asian cinema elements to the Western world? Absolutely. That is happening more and more. That's a process that has been they're working on that more and more in the past 10, 20 years. Absolutely. So the answer is, I think yes. I'm in this final, Drive-By Uppercut says, I'm in the final stretch of a TV pilot, 5th revision before submitting it to the blacklist. Any tips? No, do it. 5th revision sounds good. Submit it. Find out how it happens. I mean, it's a very simple rule. Let me see if I can find this great quote from Walter Mosley. Yeah, here we go. It's done when you know that everything you need to fix, you can't fix yet. Walter Mosley, who's a great novelist and screenwriter. What that means is, if you're looking at it and you see things you can fix them. If you are looking at it and you're like, this may be too slow, this may be too strong, whatever, but I don't know how to fix that. It feels right to me, then you're done. That's the answer. If you can look at it and go, oh, that line is bad, fix it. If you're looking at it and you're like, this may have something wrong with it, or even I think there's something wrong with it, but I don't know how to fix it, then you're done. Show it to people, see what you learn. Lake Filter, on internal voice, one of the caveat of my next novel is going to be devoid of definitive internalization. Only guessworks at best, and the setting is a teenage school drama. Everyone is allowed to do whatever they want. So yes, if you want the challenge of no internal, do it. All great. Have you ever tried to ask Ryan Gosling to buy your unproduced scripts when you worked with him? No, I did not. But I did ask him if there's something. It was the movie I made. He was going to be at a film festival that was my first directing film was going to be at. But I can't remember. The answer is Ryan and I had no social life after. When I worked with him, I was just trying not to get fired. That was a very complex production. Ryan was incredibly nice, incredibly respectful and of everyone he was working with, even when he did not feel that they were going in a direction he wanted to go with. He was incredibly professional and incredibly generous and kind to everyone he worked with. But he was a big star and I was a nobody. So I don't mean that he didn't treat me. He treated me great, but I meant that it's not like we were hanging out after work. How about how to identify which non-professional actor to work with? Lots of time we have to find the actors ourselves in indie filmmaking. Yes. The only thing I can say is audition. Audition, learn how to direct, learn how to audition, learn how to work with actors. If you do not know it, let me see. Do I have it? Yes. This book, Directing Actors by Judith Weston, is the best advice I know on directing actors. And that if you understand, give them a chance. Do an audition process that lets you see who they are so that you can decide how you're going to adapt to them. not to see, can they do what I want, to say, let me try some things with them, see what they do well and what they don't, and then say, okay, I can work with that. That's all I can suggest. But the other thing is do it a bunch of times. One of the main things is if you're a beginning director and you are working with beginning actors, you're just going to have to get lucky because you don't know what you're doing, because nobody knows what they're doing when they are beginners. That is the whole beginnerness of beginning. So therefore, just do it a bunch of times and keep things very simple, especially when you are beginning, so that nobody is in over their head. That's the worst problem for novice work. You just try too hard. Keep it simple, get it good, do the next one more complicated, the next one more challenging. Start small steps. The craziest is the AI notes service that is in Facebook adverts every day. Yes, the AI is a vast bubble delusion. Thank you, Glenn. Deciding on POV voice and reading for examples is great advice. Thank you. Glad it's not just me having to readjust my thinking when shifting medium. Yes, you might actually look back. I did a series of live streams called Writing My Novel, and some of them are about this very issue. So see if you can go back into the live streams, past list, and Writing My Novel. I was dealing with this. Thank you. SD says, I joined a writer's club class. The teacher ripped me apart. Out of 10 stories, I had none good. All were trash. I won an award on one of my stories, but after that, I got 100% demotivated. Help. Okay, the answer is simple. They're bad. That's their fault. No teacher should rip anybody apart. Why are they ripping you apart? That sucks. I apologize on behalf of all teachers to you. That is just messed up. That is bad. So the answer is just recognize that they are wrong. That's the best. It's just their opinion. It's just, do definitely take a look at the Getting Notes video. And also, I did another one on this topic anyway, gosh, I'm so sorry. Yes. Oh, I know what it is. Rules, the screenwriting rules here. Most teachers who rip you apart, first of all, they have emotional problems. But second of all, watch this one, screenwriting rules, about the fact that everybody learns their own way and everyone chooses their own way. And anyone who's telling you this is good and this is bad and that's absolute is probably an idiot. I'm sorry. It's just not right. Now, and I know many great screenwriters go on videos and say, like, this is good and this is bad and this is what you have to do. Bullshit. It's just not true. The answer is anybody who is trying to teach you should be trying to look at what you did well and help you to feel good about that, and then to work on why what you did not well could be better. But any teacher who's ripping you apart, they've got a problem. That's their problem. They have a problem. There's something wrong with them if they are doing that. That is my opinion. I am ripping them apart. So the answer is screw them. They're wrong. That's it. Everybody, if some teacher or critic of any kind attacks you, rips you apart, they are mean. They are crappy. They are bad. You win. To walk away. Wait, I wrote Bruce Almighty. No, I did not. I'm not sure. Oh, no. No. Bruce Almighty wasn't the one. There was one where Steve Carell was Noah. No. There was a movie, an adaptation of the story of Moses that never got made. Any sci-fi book recommendations? I'm sorry. I really haven't read many sci-fi books. So I don't have any offhand. So sorry. Time to submit it and move on to the next script. Drive by uppercut. Yay! Good. Okay. Yes. Thank you. No. Watch my videos. Write something. SD. Write something in revenge against that teacher. Write something that you think they would hate. Write something that you love, that they think that defies what they say. Whatever you want, just have some fun. Don't ever. Good Lord, I am so sorry to hear that someone discouraged a student. That's fucked up, man. All right, I gotta go. I got stuff to do. I love talking to you. I will talk to you all again. Thank you so much for being here. Go, and you especially, SD, but all of you, go write something.